Hello. Welcome everyone to our Power of Communication in Leadership webinar. As everyone is logging in, if you guys will do me a favor and put in the chat where you're from, what school you're from, your first name, um, and just let me know what's going on where you're at. I am here in northern Alabama. We have beautiful weather today. How's it where you're at? Hello, Sophia. Where are you from, Sophia? Welcome, Brittany from Learn a Lot Preschool out in Wisconsin. Cloudy and rainy. Kira from Lawrence, South Carolina. Having beautiful weather there. Lori, welcome from Canada. Nice and sunny there. Again, welcome everyone to our webinar. Just to introduce myself, I have 18 years of experience in the child care field. I began my journey as a teacher's assistant and I worked my way up to director. Now I am with Inspire Care 360 and I am so excited to be helping centers with supporting their teams and best practices. Welcome, Martha from Texas at Kid Bridge Academy. Hello, Holly from Iowa. Hello, Sharon. Director at Step by Step, sorry, in Illinois. Annie in Wisconsin. Kelsey from Washington. Lots of different places. Welcome, everyone. Again, if you're just joining us, go ahead and let me know your name, where you're from, what school you're from. Just kind of getting to know everyone here. How's the weather? We've got lots of different weather patterns going on here. Throughout our webinar, we're going to ask that you use our chat to answer questions throughout. If you have specific questions, we would love for you to use the Q&A section, and we'll be keeping an eye on those throughout the chat. Welcome from Abria from Tacoma and the Tacoma Montessori Center. So just to welcome you guys to today's webinar. Today, we're just letting everyone join in. Then we're going to be just covering a little bit of what IC360 has to offer with some affordable staff healthcare and some group purchasing organization options. We're going to meet our guest, Mecca Johnson, have a little bit of a discussion. And for those of you who stay all the way through our webinar to the end, we have two $100 discount school supply gift cards we will be giving away. Super excited to see who will win those. We will be putting into the chat a link for you. It's the link that you see on your screen here. This link will lead you to fill out some information for us so you can receive your certificate. You will get 1 hour of training hours today for completing your certificate. If you have issues with the link that's in the chat, go ahead and just copy and paste what is on the screen. So it is my honor to introduce you to our host, Tony D'Agostino.
Well, thank you very much, Jesse, and welcome everybody. I really appreciate you, Jesse, and taking care of us up front and welcoming everybody. And I know that there's a few more people coming on, so welcome. We're really happy to have you here today to spend a little time with Mecca as well as with myself for one of our pop-up executive series webinars. I'm Tony DiAugustino, and if you didn't know, I also own a few centers myself, and I've had them now for over 15 years in Western New York. So I have several schools that I've worked with, so I sort of understand some of the challenges we have. That was sort of the inspiration for me to create Inspire Care 360 and have a wonderful team who really looks to deliver on that. So we are going to go ahead and jump right on in. And one of the first things is we've talked about it before, but happy if you have not talked about it, we'll put a link in the chat if you are interested in Healthy Advantage. One of the number one things that we are always trying to do is to recruit and retain top talent. The number one benefit that employees state over and over again as to why they come to a company and they stay with the company is healthcare. We know it's wildly expensive and it's only been getting more expensive every year. A couple of years back, we went and we really did our diligence, we did our homework, we really worked with providers and figured a way to create a highly flexible and affordable healthcare plan, and it is named Healthy Advantage. There are 5 healthcare options for staff as well as administration. I take advantage of it myself personally, along with my entire staff takes advantage of it. There's also 5 supplemental care options too. So that gives you a lot of dexterity in what it offers. So it is, for one of the higher end programs that is only about $130 a month compared to 400 with no deductibles. There's $15 office and $15 specialist visits and $50 urgent care, $50 lab work. Really inexpensive for what it offers to give you access to the people you use currently today. Again, no deductibles, no high premiums. That is key. Typically with a major medical plan, you'll have 6,000 for an individual, up to $10,000 for a family plus. And those deductions just keep on increasing, those premiums increase. The premium for the employer side is super affordable and it's flat rated. So what it means is up to the first 10 people per person, it's $50. After that, it drops down to $25 a person. It also, all of the programs, all of these 5 programs include telemedicine. So that means your staff can leverage it, not leave for the entire day to go on one appointment. Gosh, I remember you go during your lunchtime for an appointment to the doctors. Now, people will leave and take off the entire day, but we have to stay in ratio. So having the ability to have telemedicine or for someone to call, gosh, at 12 o'clock at night because they're coughing like crazy for all night pharmacy and get an antibiotic is amazing. And these programs include it. It is highly affordable, but it meets the Affordable Care Act too, which is important. If you have 50 or more employees, and that could be over multiple centers, and then we do all the benefit administration for you. So we're the ones who are collecting the names. We are doing the surveys for you. We understand what the programs are. We're doing it electronically, sending it over to your payroll company or electronically over to you. So you and your team do not have to do any heavy lifting with this program at all. If you are interested, definitely put in the chat that you're interested and want someone to talk to you about it, and we will certainly reach out to you. So with that said, we're going to move forward to a little bit of an introduction here. One of the things that we actually started with years ago was a group purchasing organization. So that is not like a co-op where you're buying a giant bushel of apples and everybody has to come to the park to pick those up on a certain day. This is if you're part of our GPO, you get very specific negotiations. We have many different companies who are members of Inspire Care 360. That gives us purchasing power. That purchasing power translates into for supplies, for food, office, school supplies, janitorial maintenance supplies, discounts running all the way up to 50%. But we are not giving you second tier, third tier quality food. We're giving you top tier quality food, the brands that everybody it really depends upon. And what we have done with that is not only for the office supplies, it's been services. It has been different type of capital goods, so playground equipment, kitchen equipment, in school desks, chairs, tables, today we are announcing that we have a new way of actually doing this, even a better way of doing it. And it includes not only the discounts we have, but you can even add in your preferred purchasing. This is called Opus. So, welcome to Opus. What Opus is and what it does is help you find all in one location. So, if you look down here below, the current state oftentimes is you feel like you're on a scavenger hunt every week. You are either going on to Amazon and trying to buy a few things. One week you find ink there, the next week it's no longer there. You're spending a lot of time on there. Then you are getting in a car, or your operations, or even a staff member are running out and they're going to BJ's or Costco or to Aldi's. And by the way, going to those big box stores doesn't mean you're saving a lot of money. You're paying for very top-notch brands there, and oftentimes if you compare it, you are actually paying a premium for those. So, and the other thing too is I remember in Aldi's when we used to do our own shopping, you pull up and you have a giant cart full of stuff, and people start giving you that eye with that raised eyebrow of like, it's going to take me forever to get through here because you're really trying to shop for the whole center. And then you are bringing those back in, trying to bring those into your kitchen and your storage and store everything. And then you're off again doing it. And your time is valuable. It is really worth a couple $100 an hour when you think about it. So, an opportunity to look at how do you change this model? Well, the gap really is that it doesn't really have to be this way. You do not have to keep on shopping all over the place. You can get all your discounts in one location under one bundle. And that's what we offer with Opus, which comes with our membership. And that is, looking at and choosing between vendors, prices, supplies, all in one environment. It is sort of like, for lack of a better term, it is like having an Amazon cart that is specific for childcare owners and operators. It allows you to compare. So you might say, hey, I'm looking for vinyl blocks. It'll bring up the top providers of vinyl blocks and give you comparative pricing, one to the other. So you can make your decisions and choose from one environment, get one invoice. This is Opus. You'll start seeing more and more about it, but it is a fantastic way. And with all of our different providers, participating with it. So we look forward to having you come on board if you're already not participating with that. Again, just want to remind you to stay till the end because we do have some gift cards for one of our premium providers is Discount School Supply, and they have been wonderful partners for us for a very long time. And they're giving away two $100 gift cards, so that means there's two winners that are going to be there today. And with that said, I'd like to welcome Mecca. Mecca, if you could come on board, it would be wonderful. There she is. Hello, Mecca. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Tony. Very good to
Wonderful.
be here.
Well, it's very good to have you again. We had Mecca on maybe about 2 years ago, and she did
Mhm.
such a wonderful job, and people were raving about her. And of course, she's a friend of ours, and we wanted to have her back. So, welcome. And what are you going to be talking about today, Mecca? And how have you been, by the way?
I've I've been great. I've been busy. Of course, my passion has always been, and I've been in early childhood for a little over 30 years now. That seems unreal. But I found my real passion right in the middle of that journey, and it's really uh, working with the adults and children's lives. So I've been doing great because I've been doing a lot of study and research, and it's real funny. I tried to retire for a couple of weeks, and and I just thought, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to do that. As long as you're wanting to find out something new and doing research and everything. So yeah, I've just kept moving and have developed some really great sessions on. It's called the Leadership Power Series, and one of them is about communication. So
Wonderful.
that's what we'll be talking about today, and communication specifically for those who are adults in a child's world. So I think it's good stuff. I think
Wonderful. I'm
we'll
sure
learn.
it is.
I learn from it every time I present it again. So
Well,
yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking to learn from it too. So, why don't we go through what we're going to talk about today?
Well, this is a really powerful statement that we've really never had more ways to communicate. and yet we're the least connected because there's so much communication that goes on in the virtual world. And I saw it was just recently, but just a little short video showing the move since it actually started in the 1930s to right now, and the move from all the time that we spent with family and friends to where how much time we spend with family and friends now. And it's gone. It was at one point like it's 75%, and now it's 2%.
Wow.
But guess what's gone up exponentially? The amount of time that we spend online. So it just went up, to like non-existent, of course, in 1930 to now it's like 90 to 95% of our time. And so we all know that we don't really connect as human beings in the virtual world. I mean, we can talk all day long using our thumbs, but we don't hear our tone of voice. We don't feel the emotion. We don't understand, we don't see the body language or the facial expressions. And really that's how we learn to communicate, because our words are only 7% of our communication. And that's not a new statement. Most people that have studied that know that. But just think about that now, that 93% of everything that helps us to connect is not part of how we connect anymore. It's just words and emojis. Um, and so I just started developing, and this is really not as much about verbal and nonverbal communication as what we bring into our communication and why we behave the way we do, and how that impacts our ability to lead others, and especially to lead children. Because any of us in the early childhood business know that in the first 5 years, 95% of what children learn is from watching the adults and emulating the adults and doing what we do the way we do it, which is why, I mean, how many times have the leaders on this phone call and the teachers who are leaders on this phone call been talked to about their tone of voice or had to watch their tone of voice? It's all the time. It's so important, the tone of voice that we use with children, because it says so much about what we're trying to communicate and are we doing it in the right way. So, so what I want to talk about is why we behave the way we do, what actually are the reasons that we speak to one another the way we do. And what do we bring into the room when we come into the room for a conversation? We're going to talk about the importance of balancing our emotion with reason. So I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation. So
Yeah,
let's talk about why we behave the way we do. Yeah.
and I'm looking forward to it because I agree with you completely, and I think everybody out there can too. People get sometimes very bold online, and they don't act like they would face to face with you. And when I say
No,
bold, bold doesn't mean that they're saying things that they normally would say. Sometimes they feel like they have to take hard positions instead of understanding the other person. And so,
right.
with that said, I want to go right into this. This is exactly what you're trying to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do we act the way we do? And um, you know, we are wired as, and some of us say created, we're created, we are actually wired for relationships. And no matter how irrational or how destructive our actions can be from the outside, we are really fundamentally goal-seeking creatures. And so what we say, what we do, how we communicate, all of it is for a reason. And often the purpose of our actions meet one of the three fundamental needs of every human being. And so the first one on our next slide, Tony, is to have the respect of other people and for ourselves. So if you think about it, any action that we take, any any communication that we have is either to gain respect from other people or to learn how to respect ourselves better. We all are wired for a sense of belonging or connection. And so if you go back to that first statement that we had on the screen, um, it actually said that we communicate more, but we're least connected. So now we're in this bubble of communication, but not connecting with one another. And yet that's one of the three main reasons that we do anything is to feel like we belong somewhere, that we connect with others. I mean, kids that don't feel like they belong at home, they're going to find somebody to belong to. That's why we have gangs. That's why we have cliques. I mean, we are going to find somewhere to belong, and if we don't, the result of that could even be more dangerous. And the third thing is that we really are wired to believe that we're here for a reason and that what we do makes sense, that we're making a difference, that we add value to ourselves and to the people around us. And so these three fundamental needs, we all really need to recognize and to work using them maybe as part of our mission in life, right? Okay, I get up today, my mission today is I want to be respectful. I want to cause others around me to feel like they belong and I want to make a difference. And we all know that when we have that intent to do that for others, that is the most meaningful thing for us. We get that back in spades. Someone once told me to give away what you want, give away what you desire, and it comes back to you in spades. So,
So let me ask you,
I,
Mecca,
yes,
if you don't mind me, I'm sorry, breaking in here. When you look at these elements of belonging, connections, purpose, making sense, productivity, cooperation, those are all things we obviously desire from our staff, from
absolutely.
also working with our families too. But realistically, a lot of us owner operators are dealing with staff every day. And you put these down as the fundamental needs. And I totally agree with a lot of these here. When you look at this, and maybe you'll be talking about this in a bit, but when it comes to belonging and connections, where do you see things in the way that we treat our staff that can facilitate belonging and connection?
That's a great question and a great point because you talked about in your introduction the main reason that people come and stay is this healthcare piece that they
Mhm.
need that benefit. And one of the other top reasons, Tony, is because they feel like they're part of a team. They feel
Yep.
connected. They feel like, and there you go. They feel like they're respected, they're connected to something, and that they're making a difference. People will come and stay with you if you can create that kind of environment. And one of the things that I've always believed is that sometimes as leaders, we see our staff as money going out and parents as money coming in. Because our what is our biggest bottom line payable is our payroll
Yep.
every time. And so when we start struggling in the business, we immediately start trying to cut that payroll. And what that does, if we have, and I'm not saying that's not necessary, and not at all, but I'm saying if that's our mindset, if our mindset is that staff is our biggest payable and we need to keep that as bare as we can, we are never going to create a powerful team because our mindset is not to create a powerful team. Our mindset is to keep it as bare as we can so that we can pay our bills and make more money, not understanding that the teachers are the reason that parents are going to come and stay. Now, you might have great marketing, you might have a beautiful building, you might have a lot of things that will bring a parent in, but they're not going to stay if you don't have a solid group of a solid team. And so my first inclination always is to deliver the same kind of customer service to your staff that you ask them to deliver to the parents. Because until you do, you're not qualified to ask them to do that. And we do that by showing respect. And Tony, showing respect comes in a lot of different ways. I mean, it's making everybody be on time. It's
Right.
treating everybody equitably. And I don't mean equally. Equal is not the word, it's fairly and equitably. That you're requiring fairness of everyone and that and that you add value to everyone, that each person feels like they're there for a reason. And you show respect when they need to talk to you. You show respect when they have a need in the classroom by going in and supporting and helping and training and retraining when they need it. And you share with them, not just verbally, but verbally, very specifically, how they add value to the team. But then you give them opportunity to maybe lead a staff meeting because
Yep.
they're really good at this one thing and you allow them to teach others. So that would be, but the big general thing would be treat them with the same kind of respect and sense of purpose that you want them to treat the children and the parents. And until you do that, you're not qualified to ask them to deliver customer service. To me,
Absolutely. I
that's the way you
definitely
show
see that.
respect and connection.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. And I think it's also a great opportunity to work with your other team members because, quite oftentimes there happens to be, for lack of a better term, a little bit of bullying that goes on between team members. And
Mhm.
that belonging, that connection, that cooperative working comes from that mutual respect. A lot of these people who've come into our workforce are relatively junior. They're Gen Z generation and they haven't gone through a lot of this before. And so I think, this is very timely, your presentation and what you're talking about as to how to coach a team.
Yeah. And that community here's the other thing that's really important. And this is all about communication. And we're going to talk about you start communicating with your team the minute you drive up into the driveway. There's a communication, the way you get there, what time you get there, what you look like, what emotion you bring into the building. You are communicating something to your team, to the parents, whoever's in the building. And so the other thing that's extremely important is that these three needs are met within the leadership team towards one another, and the staff sees it on a consistent daily basis. Do the leadership team work in sync? Are they respectful of one another? Are they connected to one another? Do they have the same purpose and goal for the staff? And do they are and that's a whole different session to talk with leadership team members about how they create this cohesive, connected team that the staff sees and knows and trusts and believes in, and they show them how they want them to act as a team. So
Absolutely.
that's huge. You can't, that's the other thing. You cannot ask the staff to act that way if y'all don't act that way as a team. So I'm a big believer in going to Webster when we're talking about something. And so I looked up communication. What does it actually mean? It is a process by which communication is exchanged or a message is exchanged between people through a common system of symbols, signs, or behaviors. So right now, a lot of us are communicating through symbols and signs and words online. And I want us to learn the behavior and and how to really find out if we have exchanged communication. We may have said something, we may have sent it three or four different ways, but if people did not receive it, we have not communicated, right? So, so let's talk about how we become more effective in the message that we send and how we're more effective and how we control the message that we send. So, I wanted to talk to everybody about the importance of a strong balance between emotion and reason in the way that we communicate. So our next slide looks at that, Tony. It actually has our two guys and we're coming together. And are these really opposing forces? I think it's interesting that as far back as Plato, he used to describe emotion and reason as two different horses pulling in different directions. But after we've looked at it longer, we are agree with that particular thing because emotion, unchecked by reason, can actually produce chaos. So if we all just acted on our emotions, and I think we can look at the world today and see that in the lives around us, that when we aren't able to sit down and reasonably have a conversation, we actually produce chaos. So I wanted to take a look at some of the examples of how we might use emotion and chaos in our world. But first of all, I wanted to ask the audience a couple of questions. So this is always fun. Do you believe that you are self-aware? So if you really believe that you're really aware, then check a 5 and kind of go down the scale. Sometimes I'm aware, whatever, and then number 1, I'm really not aware at all. I move very quickly. I kind of have what I'm going to do, you know, on the assembly line. I know what I do every day, and I move through it quickly. I don't take much time to see, how it impacts anyone else. So you are very aware, that would be a 5. And if you are least aware, that would be a 1. And then the second question is, do you believe that those around you are self-aware? Same thing. I believe that people around me are very aware, or I believe that they're not very aware. And I see this that says that they might not be able to vote, Tony.
Oh, okay. Is someone
It
saying they
says
can't
hosts and
vote?
panelists can't vote. Well, I can still make I can still make a great point
Well,
with this.
they're actually all voting right now. So let
Oh,
me,
good, good, good. That's great.
everybody's
That's
voting.
great.
I'm
So,
going to give them just another 30 seconds to get their vote in. And
very
we
good.
about have half the group. And then what I will do is I'll end the poll and I'll publish it for us.
Oh, great. That'll be good.
Yep.
Um, I may be able to predict what it will be, but I'm not going to in case that we are a rarity here today. And then that'll be a fun conversation as well.
All right, let me end it and let me share the
Okay.
results. Okay,
Okay.
can
Do
you see
you
the
believe
results?
you are self-aware?
Yeah.
Most people believe, that they are 4 or 5, 53, 6. Most people believe that they are very self-aware. Number 2, do you believe those around you are self-aware? Can we scroll that up just a little bit, Tony? I can't see the
Which way? This way towards,
scroll. I can't see the results of number 2.
okay. Let me see if there's a way for you to see it. Hold on. Not sure why it's not showing, but I'll read it to you.
Okay,
Uh,
good.
1 is 13%, 2 is 19%, 3 is 56%,
Hmm.
4 is 13%, and 5 is 0.
Okay. So, do you see the irony of this? We
Yeah.
mostly believe that we're self-aware, but we mostly believe that nobody around us is self-aware. So this is how everybody responds. So this makes the case for us kind of stopping and thinking about how we come across to other people. So I don't know if you've heard of Randy Ross, but he wrote a wonderful book called Remarkable. And one of the questions that he poses in that is, what is it like to be on the other side of me? And I think it would be really, really important that we are very careful about how, as we walk into a room, what is it like to be on the other side of me? And I want to share with you that we come into the room either um, with displaying at least one of these 3 emotions. And remember that we've already put the thought out there that it's very important to balance emotion with reason in order for us to be more effective. And this is really important. This is a very emotional business. It really is. And we pay, I mean, moms and dads drop off, some of them feeling guilty about doing it, so, of leaving their children. They pay with emotional money. Everything about this business is very emotional. And so it's extremely important, makes it a little bit harder to use reason, but it's very important that we balance our emotion with reason. But our first instinct, because we are emotional beings, is that we come in with a certain level of emotion. We walk into the building with it. We walk into classrooms with it. It walks with us wherever we go. And those three levels of emotion are, if we can show those, Tony. Um, Number one, it's um,
All right, hold on. There
joyful.
we go.
We're good. We're good. Joyful, and that is really happiness, love, passion, liking. And you know that different facial expressions and symbols and body language mean different things all over the world. You can actually get in trouble for making certain gestures in a certain country that means something totally different from in the US. But do you know that the one expression or body language that is universal, and you probably guessed it, the smile.
Yeah. I'd say a smile
Anywhere
or
in the
laughter.
world that you smile. What did you say, Tony?
Smile or laughter.
Yes, yes. Anywhere in the world, any time of the day, it evokes the same thing and it portrays the same emotion to everyone. Happiness, love, passion, liking. The second category of emotion is hostility. And that can range anywhere from anger to contempt to disgust, jealousy, envy. And the third is sorrowful or regretful. Sadness, depression, grief, fear, social anxiety. We're in one of those three categories. Um, so joyful can also be content. It's not that we're walking around laughing or smiling all the time, but there's just a contentment. So when we walk into the building, do we walk in saying, you know what, I'm leaving the baggage outside all the way to work? Are we communicating with ourselves that we're there to make a difference, to make a connection, to respect ourselves and others? Or are we talking down to ourselves about something that happened at home or something we're dissatisfied about? First of all, is how do we communicate with one another? Because that affects the way we walk into the building. So do we walk into the building thankful to be there, joyful about the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of all the children and all the staff and the extension to all of their parents and therefore the community? Are we thinking that way, or are we thinking small because the way we've communicated with ourselves? So I would challenge you first to be very self-aware about what you're communicating when you walk into your business. Are
Yeah.
you there to be joyful? Are you there for the three main reasons that we exist? Or are you bringing some anger in towards one of your team members, some anger in toward a husband or a significant other, towards children, towards family, towards a friend? What are you bringing in with you? Because it walks in with you and it overshadows everything you try to do that day.
And I'd love to add, I think it's a wonderful point. I'd love to add how people can possibly relate to this, how it may have happened to them. Whether you had a parent when you were young or a caretaker, and at the end of their workday, they came home from their work. And if they came home and they were joyful and they were happy, everybody in the house felt like, oh, this is going to be a good evening. If someone
Mhm.
came home and they're really, they were disgusted or they were sad or they were quiet or there was a sense of we got to tiptoe around this person a bit, it sets the whole tone for the house, the entire
Yes.
tone for the house for the rest of the night. And that's the same way that our leaders are. And myself, when I walk into my schools, when my directors walk into the schools, everybody is setting themselves up based on how their leaders show up. So
Yes.
it is a leadership quality that's not always easy to navigate because I'm sure you, Mecca, as well as
Mm,
myself, we walk in some days and listen, we are not seeing the bright side of the sun that day, you know?
no.
And so how tell us a little bit, we talk about the emotion, we talk about these elements. What are things that you might do to ensure that you show up present and
Okay.
aware of how other people are going to view you?
Um, you know, the beautiful thing about the question you just asked is that this is the one thing over which we have complete control, is our attitude, our spirit. we have total control over it. We make a choice to either dwell on why we're mad or dwell on why we're sorrowful. Now, I want to put the caveat out there that there are genuine issues with depression, those kind of things that are physical, mental, those things. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, have we can we move out of that? Can we move further? Is there anything that we can make a choice to do to help us step out of that? If not, that's a total different ballgame. So let me put that caveat out there. But Tony, if I don't wake up in the morning with something to be grateful for, I have no hope of being happy that day.
Hmm.
And the thing about it is, I also have to realize that I cannot make anybody else be happy. If I want to say this to our leaders on the team and our teachers, if one of your goals is to make sure that all your parents are happy, you have set yourself up for failure. You cannot do that. But what you can do is make sure that you walk in joyful and that you are following all of the rules, policies, and procedures, and that you're being fair and requiring people to live by a certain standard. And then if people can fit into that and enjoy it and appreciate it, then that's good. And if they choose not to, then you have recourse. So I just want to say that it's important not to set up the wrong goals, number one. Number two, establish the things for which you are grateful. And you can do the same ones every morning if you want to, but because it will make a difference. It will absolutely make a difference. But name 5 to 10 things every day, either first thing in the morning or on your way to work. And I would suggest everyone get up 15 minutes early, 30 minutes early, so that there's some quiet time for you to sit and whatever you would do to meditate and establish your mind for the day. I used to come in one of my sessions, Tony, in with rollers in my hair. I mean, it didn't matter. I mean, I had franchise owners, or teachers or directors. And I would say, listen, I want to share something with you. I did not have time to get my heart and my hair ready today. I figured my heart was more important than my hair. Now, I don't encourage you to do that. That was just to make a point, you know. But think about that. Our children, yeah, they will tell you your hair doesn't look good. Those kids will tell you anything. They're pretty
Right.
brave. But the thing that's going to make the most difference to your team, your leadership team, and your teachers and the children for whom they care is the attitude of your heart when you walk into the building. And so I say, prepare your heart by being grateful. There's a wonderful video by Dr. Brene Brown that everybody could go to. They could just go to YouTube and say, Brene Brown's video on gratitude and joy. It is beautiful. And she says, you don't get gratitude by being joyful. You actually produce joy in your life by being grateful. And the beauty of that is we can choose to be grateful. So name the things. I mean, everybody on this can say, I can hear. I have a job.
Yeah.
I have people in my life I care about. I was able to eat this morning. I had a bed to sleep in last night. And you would be ahead of a lot of the rest of the world. So that would be the number one thing
Yeah.
is, and it will over time, making a habit of that, it even has the ability to get rid of some of the anger and to lift some of the depression as long as we focus on making that choice. And it is a choice. So I love that you asked that question. It is the one thing that we have control over, but
Yeah.
we
And it's
have
one
to
of those
choose to
things
do it.
that we oftentimes forget about it. We oftentimes forget that we have control over our own happiness, our own capabilities, and how we, as I like to say, show up. And, I will say, one of my favorite people that used to work for me, she no longer does, unfortunately. She had to move away with her husband, but she was an enrollment specialist with us. And she was maybe the bubbliest person I have ever met. And her bubbliness every single day she came in was just simply contagious. Why she did so good? Honestly, she didn't even talk about the programs properly. She really didn't. I don't even know if she knew our programs properly, but she came in with so much joy, help. that person, who is going for a tour where they're taking the most precious thing in their world and looking to hand them off to a separate company and these other people, that joyfulness, they were like, I want that. That's what they wanted. They wanted
Yes.
joyfulness for their child. So it wasn't about the curriculum, it wasn't about the safety, it wasn't about the video cameras. It was about that joyfulness. So it was the way she tended to show up. Lucky for her, she has that just ingrained in her life. So that was wonderful. But that was just to relate from what you were saying.
And Tony, that reminds me of something else that we all have heard. Certainly not coming from me. You know it, I know it, anybody that's been in business for very long, is that the entire idea of culture is around this one statement that it is how it makes people feel. Because you never forget how you felt in a situation. You might forget the words, you might forget what the big beautiful marketing campaign was. And that's why they spend so much money trying to reach people's hearts, because it's
Yeah.
how we feel. And this person that was so full of joy, it didn't matter what she was saying. She could ask people, will you do this? Yes, I'll do that. If you love it
Yeah.
that much and it makes you like that, I want it. I want it, right?
Everybody wants that. That's what they're shooting for.
Exactly. So that's
Absolutely.
and I'm glad we're speaking to that piece of it, and that you gave that example, because that is the perfect example of why it's important for you to walk into your building with joy.
Yeah.
If you bring that in, and everything about you is joyful. I'm not saying you're not going to be human, and sometimes you're not going to get mad, and there's a such thing as righteous anger. You have a reason to be mad, but you're mad because somebody messed up everybody's ability to be joyful and do the right thing, and you take care of it, and then the joy returns, right? You don't sit in
Yeah.
it. So yeah, that's the power of our joy, and the power of the attitudes of our heart impacting the entire environment in our school. And I'm going to tell you something, when people walk in, I've walked into classrooms before as a consultant years ago, and everything looked great but it didn't feel great, and I asked why, and they said, we can't believe you can tell that. Never been in that room before, but the teachers didn't get along. And when I walked in the room, I felt something that I didn't feel in the other classrooms. Well, don't think our children don't feel that. And don't
Oh,
think our
yeah.
parents don't feel that. And don't think that doesn't make them question other things.
Yeah.
So we are communicating something with our heart attitude. So what is that? And we have the power over that, or how we're going to communicate. So in the few minutes I have left, Tony, I wanted to spend a little bit of time on the importance of balancing emotion and reason that we have up. And let's look at this in our conversations with one another and with parents. So emotions, if you come into a conversation, your emotions such as passion and enthusiasm, they really need to pursue a rational goal. If you come into, and I will give you an example. I always surrounded myself when I had my own team by people who reined me in. I'm an ocean boiler. I believe we can do anything with the right people in place and all of that. And part of their job was to cause me to think, Mecca, we can't do that fast, and here's why. I would ask them to make me, and I worked at it habitually, to really put the reason to it in order to effectively present it to the rest of the group, because not everybody had the same attitude I did about it. And I made life-changing mistakes by going on emotion only.
Mm.
Because when you bring something to the table, whether it's with a parent or whether it's to convince a boss that something is a good idea, you need to have the reasoning skills to evaluate and to analyze what you're asking them to do objectively, so that you avoid impulsive decisions. You avoid making a decision based on incomplete information. And one of the most important things that this audience can do is when a parent is upset with us, when the state calls us and is upset with us, When a teacher comes and is upset and it causes you to react emotionally, be self-aware enough to sit back and say, if this is not life and death right now, health and safety of a child right now, I can give myself time to process this. And by doing that, you give the other person time to process and you come back together. I have learned and have done it many times to say to a very, very angry parent, listen, I understand this is important. I see it in your body language, in your tone, and in your words that this is extremely important. Will you give me time to find out exactly what happened and why? And I promise you, I would look at my watch and say, it's 2 o'clock right now. I will get back in touch with you by 2 o'clock tomorrow with a very thorough explanation and conversation.
And I think that's a really important point you're making there, Mecca. Oftentimes we think when we're asking for that kind of a grace that people get upset, that they're not getting an immediate response. But I think 9 times out of 10, if we're the person who is upset, if we are at a restaurant or we're at some kind of event, we're down at the Department of Motor Vehicles, okay? And we get upset about something and we say to the person who is trying to help us or service us, and we say, I want this, 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 and this. And they come back with a canned response.
Mhm.
So this is how you just placate them. Or they say, you know what? I really want to think about what you're asking for. Would you mind if I thought about it and I got back to you on it? And the person's like, oh, wait a minute. You're actually going to take the time and energy to think about this in a thoughtful manner.
Mhm.
I so much more respect the latter than I do the former. I don't need it solved that minute unless it is an emergency. My child is in danger or something like that. But if someone is going to think about it, that means they're going to invest time in thinking about what I've brought to the table. So I think it's
Yes.
a very good point you make.
And a parent, so I've had a parent push back, I want to know now. And I said, but whatever I give you now is going to be incomplete. We may make a
Right.
wrong decision because we don't have all the facts. And then I would look at the child and say the child's name and say, Sam is worthy of the true facts. Let's do
Yeah,
what's best for him so we can make sure this doesn't happen again. And when you
absolutely.
say it, when you make it about the child, it's not about me, it's not about them, it's about the child. I have never had a parent push back, but I have always followed through. If I said I'll
Wow.
call by 2, I found out I called by 2. So that by doing that, you have used reason to evaluate the situation. And what'll happen is in 24 hours, they're not going to be as mad either. They will
Yeah.
have calmed down. I can't remember a time when that didn't happen. And a lot of times you would get kind of an apology for the way they approached you. But you're establishing what you did is find one more way to establish a level of trust with that parent that you cared enough to find out and that you follow through on your word. Huge, because if you just let the emotion rule it, and I've done that. I've done that to get a parent out of my face. I've given them what they wanted, and I've never been so mad at myself in all my life. I can't go to sleep that night and been mad that I did that because it wasn't the right thing to do. But you do it and you learn from it.
No,
So
I think it's wonderful.
yeah, so I'm looking at the other things and just very quickly the social bonding, emotions such as compassion and love, they foster connection. One of those three main reasons we live and breathe, right? They foster connection with others. I don't know if any of you were fans of Star Trek in the in the 60s and 70s. Now I'm giving away my age, but I was a great fan of Spock's because he was just stoic but he had no emotion. And so he and Captain Kirk, who was all human, were this perfect pair because Kirk brought the emotion to all of the decisions. But Spock made some of the very best decisions in the world. He just couldn't communicate them because people did not receive his kind of communication. So I love that I think back about Spock being the perfect, embodiment of reason, and Kirk being that balance to him. But reason can mediate an emotional conflict by helping people communicate more effectively, by helping them compromise, and by helping them find solutions. If we are approaching everything with the anger or our own emotion, I'm so joyful, I'm so excited we can do this and we can do it now, then then I'm talking to someone who just wants to know the facts, who wants to know how much it's going to cost, who wants to be able to analyze what's going to be the return on my investment. Why are we doing this? That'll make me mad. It did make me mad, right? I'm telling you about my own failings. And this
Sure.
wonderful idea got swept under the rug because I didn't approach it with a balance of, I'm joyful about this, we can do this,
Right.
and let me show you how. So and then our intuition. I mean, there's scientific evidence about that gut feeling that we have. And our emotions can serve as a source of intuition. They can give us guidance. I mean, we are created with emotion for a reason because that helps us to communicate. But reason enables us to regulate it and to
Yep.
manage our emotions, to be more self aware. Creativity, that comes from emotion. It's inspiration. We're inspired by new ideas and we're creative, and it helps us move to the next stage of something. And it often fuels artistic expression. It fuels problem solving and out of the box thinking. But the reason helps us to be moral and ethical about all these things that we want to create and we want to do. It helps us to think, how is this going to impact others? How is it going to help them feel respected? How is it going to help them feel connected? How is it going to help them feel like they have a sense of purpose? And then adaptation, emotions such as fear and anxiety can actually alert us. Just because we're fearful or afraid, sometimes that tells us there's something, we better not go under that dark bridge at night because there's a ditch on the other side. We don't know what's there. That's not always bad. It can be a guard for us. But reason helps us to think about that and make a good decision. Reason helps us to set short-term goals. It's what helps us to set long-term goals. Um, and so adaptation, the emotion of it is wonderful, but the reason that goes with us helps us to set reasonable and reachable goals. And so the self-aware question, I go back to that, very important. And I just have a couple of seconds left, I know, Tony, but the very important thing about that is if we are self-aware about what we're walking into the building with, what are we communicating first thing in the morning? And we have to work at that. That is a work in progress that you can never stop working at for the rest of your life. But the benefit of it and the return on the investment of that time you've spent working on that is that our reactions, which we cannot plan for, you don't plan a reaction. That's why it's called a reaction. It's immediate, but we have a much greater chance of responding in a way that makes people feel valued and respected and connected and like they're important and validated if we habitually do the right thing. Then our reactions have a better chance of being right, because
Yep.
whatever we allow in our lives on a regular basis is going to be how we react when we don't have time to be self-aware.
Yeah.
So
And I think
this
it's a
is
really
about
good point.
communicating, right? This is a
Yeah.
communicating session, but it's got
No.
a little bit different twist than
No,
just
I
about
love it.
verbal. And I do want to say this. I want to end with the very last slide, Tony, and say that it's important that we choose the right time, that we choose the right place. And I say to all of you, the hallway belongs to the children. Never have an important conversation in the hallway. Never. And teach parents that in your orientation. Teach them some of these things in orientation. And I hope you have. That's a whole nother session. And then choose the right words. Words can make or break us. I mean, they are powerful. That little thing, stick and stone may break our bones, but words will never harm me is not true. I've got broken bones, but I still remember things said to me in childhood that have been stumbling blocks for me. And make sure that your intent is right. Not because they had the gall to disobey you, but you're worried about how it's going to help them be all they can be, to feel respect for themselves, to make a difference, to feel connected. That's why you want to help them. Not because they messed with you, but because you want the best for them. And so
Yeah.
I hope I've given
Wonderful.
you enough time to kind of wrap up.
Well, wonderful
Thank
words,
you.
and obviously you can go on for a good while, and I would love listening to it for a good while. And I think there's some really important messages there, and I hope the people out in the audience got some of them because it is so easy for us to react as to respond. It is
Yeah.
very easy for us to do that. It's just human nature to react,
Hmm.
fight or flight, as to respond and to be thoughtful. But I like what you have here to sum this all up, the types of communication, the right time, the right place, the right words, the right intent. The hallway, very well, likely not the best place, but also be careful too that you're sitting on the opposite side of the desk of someone and it's a labor negotiation. You know,
Yes.
how do you build that camaraderie, that belonging with someone when they feel like they're not on opposite ends with you? So I think you made some amazing points today, some great stuff. You have some wonderful feedback today. So I want to thank you greatly, and hopefully we can have you come back in a little while at some
I'd
point
love
because
to.
we love the conversation with you, and the audience loves it too. So with that said, I am going to move on because I want to make sure that we give away our gift cards. I'm going to
Thank
put
you,
them to
Tony.
the Tumblr here, but I want to thank you, Mecca. So you can go off video if you want, so you don't have to deal with my boring stuff here.
That's all
But
right.
but thank you for
Thank you.
joining us, Mecca.
Thank you so
We love
much.
it.
Bye bye.
So for those of you out here, we're putting it into the random machine, and let's see what we come out for the first card. Okay, Sharon Weddick. So Sharon, you have won a $100 gift card for discount school supply, and we will be reaching out to you. But if for some reason because we have a registration from you, but if you don't have any of the information there in that registration, just make sure you put your email address so we can get it to you. Now let's see the last one. We'll put it in here and I'll process it. I have a little randomizer here. All right, and it's Annie Sakati or Sakat. So Annie, I hopefully I pronounced your name last night. You have to pronounce D'Agostino in case, but Sakat, I believe it is. And congratulations to both Sharon and Annie for being our raffle winners here today for the $100 gift cards. We want to thank again Mecca so much for coming on board with putting her information in the chat. She's just absolutely wonderful, great person maybe to engage if you do want to bring her in, maybe talk with your team, whether it be face to face or video. I'm sure Mecca, now that she's danced between retirement and not being retired, she may entertain that. And again, we have put it already into the chat, but for those of you who want your CEU credits, we want to make sure you get that. So do not hesitate to click on that link to fill this out yourself and print out your own certificate you can upload to your own registry. And then finally, if you are a decision maker and you're interested in learning more and you are like, hey, I've heard about Mecca, but I haven't heard about Inspire Care 360 much, and I want to learn more about that GPO, that Healthy Advantage, the star rating tools, but our learning and development possibly, and all the work that we've done there, the 220 hours plus of professional development, reach out to us and you get a $30 gift card for us to spend a little bit of time with you, just so we can get to meet you and say your time is valuable to us. So I want to thank you very much for participating and being on with us today. My name is Tony D'Agostino. I am the founder and CEO of Inspire Care 360. We thank you greatly for taking this time. We believe high tides raise all ships. If you want to have different speakers, do not hesitate to send us the name of different speakers. You're like, I heard them talk once. Hey, Tony, would you have them on? Would love to see them again. We would love to do that. So don't hesitate to reach out to us and give us some ideas of what you would like to hear so we can bring more to you. We've been doing this now for, gosh, almost 8 or 9 years now with our webinars, and we're so thankful for your time. So I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day and a wonderful rest of your week on this beautiful fall afternoon. Take care, everybody. Bye now.